Hello everyone. Today we are back with one of the most important algorithm in supervised machine learning, which are bagging and boosting algorithm. The flow for this video will be first we will understand what do you mean by bagging and boosting, how they work, and then we will finally build a model from scratch and understand their hyperparameters in detail. So before we start, here are a few details about DataMonk. In DataMonk, we help students to prepare for different type of interviews and provide study material for their references. If you want to know more about the DataMonk, then you can visit our website www.thedatamonk.com. So, for bagging and boosting algorithms, they are the two mostly used model in machine learning, and they both are derived from decision tree algorithm. So, first let's see what do you mean by bagging algorithm. In random forest, we use bagging algorithm. A random forest is a supervised learning algorithm. As for the name forest suggests, it is an assemble of decision trees, usually trained with the bagging method. The general idea of the bagging method is that the combination of learning model increases the overall result. In simple terms, we say that random forest build a multiple decision tree and merges them together to get more and stable predictions. One big advantage for random forest is that it can be used for both classification and regression problems. So let's see for classification model how it look like. So this is our random forest classifier and it is just the bagging method, like they all are decision tree in one big bag. And for the classification method in decision tree we use mode. As you can see, this decision tree predict 1, this decision tree predict 0, and this decision tree predict 1. So we will take mode of all this decision tree and get our final answer, like there are 6 ones and 3 zeros. So our final prediction will be 1. And as for random forest regressor, here it is what it look like. So this will be our random forest regressor. So like first we will train the model and this will be the bag of all the model. Like in the bag we have three models, model 1, model 2 and model 3. Then we will get prediction from every model. So from model 1 we will get this prediction, from model 2 we will get this prediction, and from model 3 we will get this prediction. Then our final model will be the mean of all this prediction. It is just like the parallel structure. Then after that you all are thinking that if our model include number of trees, then how can they differ if the sample ratio are same? So in random forest there is one more twist. So like as you can see in this training data, how our random forest work. So from this training data we have three decision trees and we have taken different combination of random rows in each decision tree. Then after selecting random row from each decision tree, we will select the random predictor columns for each decision tree, and finally we get different trees. Then we can perform our random forest algorithm in this. Then after selecting random predictor columns, we will predict answer from all this decision tree and finally get our final model after taking the mean of every predictions. I hope you understand the random forest. Now we will look into ADA boosting, which is a boosting algorithm. In ADA boosting, we use sequential algorithm. Like we will take every model, build it, and take some weight from it and use it in our next decision tree. Then after taking several decision trees, we will finally get our final model, which will be our ADA boosting tree. So for ADA boosting, when nothing works, boosting does. Nowadays, many people use either XGBoost or Light GBM or CAT Boost to win several competitions at Kaggle or hackathons. ADA Boost is the first stepping stone in the world of boosting. ADA Boost is one of the first boosting algorithms to be adapted in solving practices. ADA Boosts help you to combine multiple weak classifiers into a single strong classifier. Here are some fun facts about ADA Boost. The weak learner in ADA Boost are decision tree with a single spread. They are known as decision stump, which are the weakest classifier in the ADA boosting. ADA Boost works by putting more weight on difficult to classify instances and less on those which are already handled well. And the final fact is that ADA Boost algorithm can be used for both classification and regression problem. So as I have already discussed that ADA Boost assign weight to the next decision tree and so on to improve the accuracy of the final model. So how does it assign a weight? So it assign a weight of 1 by n to all rows, where n is our total number of rows in our training data. Then after assigning the weight, it randomly select a subset of rows from the original data and create a predictive model, which is our decision sum. Then it generate a prediction on the above subset using the above predictive model. Then after generating the prediction, it updates the weight in the original data and give higher weight to those rows where the prediction was incorrect and give less weight to those rows where prediction was correct, as we have already discussed this point. Then we repeat this step several times until we get 100% accuracy or maximum number of iteration is reached. And the final prediction is the weighted average of all the prediction made by the different model. So let's see this algorithm with the help of the illustration. So this is what our ADA boosting algorithm look like. So for ADA boosting, first we have the original data. Then we select the random rows and random columns as we have seen in the random forest. Then after creating first predictive model, we will see the prediction of the model. Then after seeing the prediction, we will update the weight where our prediction was incorrect. And we will repeat this step several times until the total number of iteration has reached. And for the final prediction, we take the average or mode of all the predictions, hence get our final boosted algorithm. Now you understand how random forest and ADA boosting works. So let's create a model and know about their hyperparameters. So for our model, the problem statement is to predict the price of diamond cut based on its features. Our target variable is price and our predictor variables are carat, cut, color, charity and etc. So to build any model, first we have to explore our data. And to explore the data, first we have imported two libraries, Panda and NumPy. And then after importing the library, we have read our data using read CSV. Then we got our data. Then after reading the data, we have removed duplicate rows, if any, using the drop duplicates. And as you can see, we have removed around 150 rows of duplicate values. And then we have printed our head of the data. So this is how our data look like. This is our target variable and this all are our predictors, which are carat, cut, color, clarity, depth, table, XYZ. So after that, we will observe the summarized information of our data and see if there is any missing value in a particular column. So by using the info function, we got the non-null values of every column. And as we can see, we have total number of 53,794 rows. And you can see in color and depth, there are some null values, so we can treat it afterward. But if there is any missing value which is greater than 30% of the entire data, then we can automatically remove that column from our data set. Then after that, we have used describe function to see the statistical distribution of our data. From this, we can also check the continuous and categorical variables. Then after that, we have used nUnique function to understand which column is categorical and which one is continuous. So, if the value of nUnique function is greater than 20 in any particular column, then it will be our continuous variable. And if it is less than 20, then it will be our categorical variable. So our continuous variable are price, carat, depth table, XYZ, and our categorical variables are cut, color, and clarity. Then after finding categorical and continuous variable, we will see visualize distribution of every variable individually. So for categorical predictor, we use bar plot to see the distribution. So we have written a function for plotting multiple bar chart for categorical variables. So they are the distribution bar plots of categorical variable. As you can see, as in cut, there are 5 unique values. In color, there are around 7 unique values. And in clarity, there are around 8 unique values. Then after seeing the distribution of categorical variable, we will see the distribution of continuous variable using histograms. So from this statement, we have plotted multiple columns together. So you can see the histogram for continuous variable, like this is our target variable. And from this, we can derive that our price has good distribution, like somewhat positive skewed. In carat, it is also positive skewed. And in X, it is a bell curve. So after seeing the distribution of each variable separately, we will explore the relationship between the variables. So for continuous versus continuous, we use scatter plot. For continuous versus categorical, we use box plot and bar plot. And for categorical versus categorical, we use only bar plot. So first we will see the relationship between continuous versus continuous. So we have plotted the scatter plot for this. Our y-axis is our target variable and x-axis is our predictor. So as you can see, our first graph is of price versus carrot. Our second graph is of price versus x-axis, and our third is of price versus y-axis. And in this you can also see the outliers. Like in y-axis you can see two outliers, one at 60 and one at 30, and in this you can see some outlier in x equal to 0. Then after seeing the relationship with the help of visualization, we will see the relationship between continuous versus continuous using the statistical selection. So we have plotted the correlation matrix for continuous versus continuous, and as you can see in correlation matrix, if our value is greater than 0.5 and less than minus 0.5, then it will show that our predictor and our target variable are related. So we have plotted the correlation matrix using this line data.core function, and this is our correlation matrix. And in this correlation matrix we only have to focus on our price as it is our target variable. So as you can see in price, our caret is highly related to the price. Our x, y and z are also highly related to the price, but also we can see that depth and table is not related to the price. So we will remove this two column later on. Then we will explore the relationship between continuous versus categorical. So first we will visualize the relationship between price and color using bar chart. So to use the bar chart, first we have to group the data. So we have grouped the data using the group by, and after grouping the data, we have plot the bar chart, and you can see our bar chart like this. As you can see, this is the average price for each color. Like for D color, we have average price around 3000, and for J color we have average price of around 5000. So we can see the relationship between color and the price. Then after seeing the relationship using the bar chart, we will see the relationship between continuous versus categorical using the statistical function. So for continuous versus categorical, we use ANOVA test. And in ANOVA test, our assumption is H naught, which means that there is no relationship between the given variables. So our target variable is price only, and our categorical predictors are color, cut, and clarity. So if our p-value is greater than 0.05 in this, then we can assume that our assumption is correct, which means that they are not correlated. So we have to find the value which are less than 0.05. So as you can see, our p-value for color, cut and clarity all are less than 0.05. Therefore, we can assume that they all are correlated with the price. So after finding the relationship between our target variable and all our predictor, we will pre-process the data. So our first step to pre-process any data is to treat missing values. So to treat any missing value, first we have to see how many missing value are present in each column. So from this statement, we can see our missing value, and we can see that in depth and in color there are some missing values, so we can treat them. As our depth was our continuous variable and color was our categorical variable, we have treated them separately. So for continuous variable, we have used interpolation method linear, which means that the average of previous and next number. And for categorical variable, we have used interpolation method of ffill, which means that first fill. So it will fill the missing value with the help of the next column. Then after treating the missing value, we will check if there is any left. So we have written this statement again. So as you can see, there are no null value left. So our missing value have been treated. Then after treating the missing value, our next step to pre-process the data is to convert any categorical data to the numeric data. So in this, our first step is to treat all ordinal variable by manually mapping the numeric values. So before treating the ordinal variable, we have removed our useless column, which are depth and table, as we have already seen that they are not related to our target variable. So this is how our new data look like. Then we have treated the ordinal variable by the manual mapping. So as you can see, we have treated the cut variable, which was our ordinal variable, as we have assigned the value of 4 to the ideal, 3 to the premium, 2 to the very good, 1 to the good, and 0 to the fair. Then after treating the ordinal variable, we will treat the nominal variable using the dummy variable. So in Python, we have simple function to treat the nominal variable. So we have written the getDummy function. So as you can see, our color has been separated into many further columns, like color D, color E, color F, and color G. And suppose if it is color E, then it will assign the value other than color E to 0, and in color E it will assign 1. and same method will be applied to the further rows. So now our data is ready. So we can split the data into training and testing sample for fitting it into the model. So we don't use the full data for creating the model. Some data is randomly selected and kept aside for checking how good the model is. And this is known as our testing data. And the remaining data is called training data on which our model is built. Typically, 70% of the data is used as training data and 30% of the data is used as testing data. So first we have written the data numeric column to check how many columns are there and get their names for further references. Then we have assigned the values to the target variable and the predictor, and later on split the data using train test split and in the ratio of 70% and 30%. So in test size, as you can see, it is only 0.3, which means that 30% is our testing data and the rest 70% is our training data. And for random set, it is just the number. If we assign any number to it, it will help us to pick different combination of rows from our training dataset. Then after that, we will quickly check the shape of our training and testing dataset. So for training dataset, as you can see, we have assigned 37,655 rows, and for testing data, we have assigned 16,139 rows. So now our data is ready to fit in our model. So our first model will be random forest. So to build the random forest model, first we have imported the random forest regressor library. Focus on regressor as we are doing the regression models. That's why we have imported random forest regressor. And in random forest regressor, there are three hyperparameters to focus on. Like in decision tree, there was max steps and criteria, but in random forest there is one more hyperparameter which is n estimator. So let's see about max depth. Max depth is just the height of the tree. So we have assigned the height of the tree 3 and the criteria is always MSE for the regression model. So now let's see what do you mean by n estimator, which is new term to the random forest. So for n estimator, it means that we will pick 400 of trees and take the average of 400 tree and build our final tree. So it is just the number which tells that how many tree we will take and find our final prediction. So for good range for max depth is around 2 to 10. So if we assign it less than 2, it will be underfit model, and if we assign it greater than 10, it will be our overfit model. Same for the n estimator. If we assign less than 100, it will be our underfit model, and if we assign greater than 1000, it will be our overfit model. So now we have fit xtrain and ytrain in our model and then predict the value using the xtest. Then after that, we have find the goodness of it of our training data and the accuracy of our testing data. So like in this, our accuracy is only 77%. But if we assign our max depth equal to 7 and n estimator equal to 100, let's do it. Then our accuracy will increase. Let's see how. Our model is running right now. So as you can see, our accuracy comes to 86%, which is far greater than 77%. So we have to choose the accurate function for max depth and an estimator using the hyperparameter tuning function. So as it is a type of decision tree, so feature importance chart is very important. So let's see our feature importance chart. So as you can see, if our height is 7, therefore we can consider many variables, but for caret, it will be our root node as it has highest bifurcating power. Then after that, it will be on Y. So after that, let's plot our single decision tree out of random forests. So for that, we have imported Pirate Plus and tree and image folder. So first we have created a dot data for a particular decision tree in our random forest. Then we have plotted the graph, and it is how it look like. This is the graph for max depth equal to 3. So as you have already seen the variable in the decision tree, so for first statement, it is always a condition. So it says that if caret is less than 0.985, then it will move toward this, and if it is greater than 0.985, then it will move toward this. Same as in this, it is again bifurcating on the basis of caret, but in this it is bifurcating on the basis of Y. If it is true, we will move toward this, and if it is false, we will move toward this. Therefore we have got the final values. And for third statement, it is the total number of samples, like total number of data, which is around 23,810, and the average of 23,810 is our value, which comes to be 3,980. Same for all the columns. Like in this, the average of 15,301 data is this, and same for 8,509 it is this. So we will finally get our final values. So this is all about the random forest. Now we will look about the ADA boost. So now let's build the ADA boost model. So to build the ADA boost model, we need two libraries. First is AdaBoost Regressor and second is Decision Tree Regressor. Why we need Decision Tree Regressor? Because we will actually build the decision tree and assign it as a base estimator for AdaBoost Regressor. So as you already know that in decision tree regressor, we need two hyperparameter. First is max depth and second is criteria. But criteria is not necessary as it is by default MSC. But for max depth, we have assigned the value equal to 3. And for AdaBoost regressor, we need three hyperparameter, which are n estimator, base estimator, and learning rate. We already know about n estimator. So base estimator is just to tell in which way we will boost the algorithm. So in this we have to boost the decision tree. So we have assigned the decision tree regressor as the base estimator. And after that, the last hyperparameter is learning rate. Learning rate is just the contribution of each model to the weight, and by default it is 1. If reducing the learning rate will mean that weight will be increased or decreased to a small degree, forcing the model to train slower, but sometimes the accuracy will increase if we decrease the learning rate. So you can assign it 0 0.1 or 0.09 or 0.08 depending on your accuracy. So in this we have to tune all these four parameters to get the best accuracy. And if we go further into more complicated algorithms, our hyperparameter will only increase. Like in deep learning, we have around 10 hyperparameters. So the more complex the algorithm is, the more hyperparameter there will be. So after assigning the value to the hyperparameter, we will fit the data by xtrain and ytrain and then predict the data with the help of xtest. Then after predicting the data, we will see the goodness of it and the accuracy on testing data. Here our accuracy comes to be 62.95%. But if we increase the base estimator to 8 and estimator to 100 and learning rate to 0.08, then let's see what our accuracy will be. So in this, as you can see, our accuracy comes to be 87.10%, which increased by a lot, like around 24%. After that, let's see our feature importance chart for AdaBoost. So this is the feature importance chart, and in this also our main focus is on Y and the caret, as they have the best bifurcation power. Then after building the model, let's plot the single decision tree out of the AdaBoost. So here's the single decision tree with the max depth of 3 and the learning rate was around 0.1 only. So to create our decision tree, first we need the dot data, then we have used the image function to show the graph, and for this it is same as decision tree and random forest with all the same variables. Like first is our condition, second is our mean square error, third is our total number of variable in that particular box, and fourth is our mean of the sample. And if it is true, we will move toward the left, and if it is false, we will move toward the right. So that's all about the random forest and AdaBoost. Hope you like the content. If you want more content, do like and share the video. Thank you for your time.